I know that a lot of times when people have these energies defined, they don't always like feel it like
Right.
that they know it, because it
Mhm.
says you have this innate sense of the direction you're going and what you need and what's right for you, right? And you're good at helping point that out in others, which I
Mhm.
think it's easier to point it out in others than it's yourself for
Well, I
sure.
can see that because, like, if you have that, you just kind of feel like that's normal for you.
Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design Hive Podcast. Let's get into it.
Well, hello there, Haley. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Good. Good to see you. You cute
Yes.
little. Is that a one braid? Two braids?
There's two.
Two braids. Oh, look at you.
Yes.
Look, your hair's gotten so long.
I know. I was noticing that the other day.
You did that yourself?
I did.
Wow.
It's my new favorite thing to do is double French braid. There was one day I was doing a single braid. Like I started it as a French braid, and then somewhere in there I accidentally switched to a Dutch braid. So
What's the difference? It's over
so
instead of under, or
under
French
instead of
braids?
over. French braid's over.
Oh, it is over. Okay.
Yeah, because it hides the braid. It kind of hides the braid up against your head. Whereas a Dutch braid, you can see like the actual braid.
That's kind of what I meant. I felt like the Dutch it sits on top, like you can
Yeah,
see
it
the
sits on
braid,
top.
right?
It's
Yeah.
much more obvious. Yeah. So
Yeah.
somehow in the middle of doing that single braid, I switched and didn't even realize it till I was done. And I looked in the mirror and I was like,
A lump.
did I switch to a Dutch braid in the middle?
Do I have a lump?
Oh,
Sorry, somebody was just running down the street. I'm like, what's happening? It's just some kid running with a basketball. I usually don't see a lot of activity on my
No, it's a
street outside my
quiet
window.
street.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a nice quiet street, so I get easily distracted. I'm like, squirrel. I can watch the squirrels from my window, but anyways. What is the thing now with the youth of wearing your pajamas in public? Because four young men just ran down the street. They're probably, I don't know, early teens. Two of them
Yeah.
are wearing pajama pants for sure. We'll
Oh,
see.
yeah, I don't get it. We went out to a couple last weekend, I think. We went out and got brunch after Presley did his race. There was a girl that was just like in her pajamas at the restaurant.
No.
Yes. Yes.
That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for being
I
casual, but save that for the house. I don't like that. I know people do it
no,
in
I don't.
travel and airplanes. I hate that
I
too,
still
but
don't get that either, though.
just wear a pair of yoga pants. Like, we don't
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't.
wear your pajamas. I don't get it, but
I don't either.
I'm
I just
glad you
love that
don't
you
get it
said
either.
you're like, what is up with the youth?
That's the only way I could phrase it, because I knew it made me sound like an old person, but I couldn't help it because I like to stay up with the trends and know what's going on, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't get it. That's not necessary.
Yeah,
And
no.
I see things out there in the culture that now there's some kind of, what are they calling the new generation coming up of these newer kids, these are they call them alphas?
I think Alpha's
Is
the
that one of them?
newest generation, yeah.
And of course, if you're on TikTok or Reels, you'll see Reels about it where these parents are like, this is how this kid speaks, and or teachers might talk about how they're languaging, and I was just like, what? And I think even millennials and even Gen Z are looking at them like, what are they talking about? What are they? They've come up with their own language, but
I had that happen to me when I was in college. This would have been sophomore year. I got to one of my classes and it was a big group project across the entire semester. And so we were put into our groups and they were kids my age. They're like using these slang terms and I'm just sitting there like, I feel old. I don't know what these are. And it's like my own people my age,
generation.
and I'm like, yeah, I was like, I'm so out of it.
No, well, it's probably not a bad thing. I mean, at a certain point, because being too like finger on the pulse, this maybe in college, it served you well because it means you weren't too distracted by the task at hand, which was graduating.
Funny enough, I ended up being the leader of that group.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
Now you see
Yep.
it all. Well, anyway, so let's get to today's episode. Like I said, it's another sun transit episode, a gates episode, which are a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying doing because I'm learning so much about the gates. It's like you're always we're always referring to them. I see the themes, but when you really have to like talk about them, break them down, like I said, in another year, I might even have a better understanding. It's just so many layers to it, and there's always new voices contributing to how these energies express. So it's really exciting. So if this is your first Gates episode that you've heard of ours, Haley, why don't you tell them what we're doing here?
Oh, okay. So the gates episodes, we kind of just go through each gate that the sun goes through in the month. We kind of just break it down and go through it and really like bring out the specifics of the gate and kind of how it may show up if you do have it defined, if you don't have it defined, kind of like explaining how the energy kind of flows through the month.
And why do we do it the sun? Like, what's the significance there?
The sun's really big. I don't know. It moves through the
I love
gates every 6 days. I don't know.
There you go. I love throwing curveballs at you and see what you come up with. Because I totally don't prepare you sometimes that I'm gonna like throw something at you. Yeah. So the everything is always moving. We're always talking about our own personal designs in human design, which is your birth chart. While even though it's kind of static, as it's a roadmap, it's your energetic blueprint at the moment you were born and what was happening about 3 months before. But everything still keeps moving. All the planets, us, the sun, we're all just like revolving in this big cosmic dance. And so, since it is informed by astrology, we see the body graph as just that representation of what's really in the big mandala, which is all the different layers of astrology and I Ching, Kabbalah, all that stuff. So if you were to look at it on the wheel, you'd see as the sun moves around that wheel, every 6 days, roughly, it will move into a new hexagram, a new gate. So since it's the sun, everybody on the planet is being affected by these energies. Like you said, there are those of us that have some gates defined as it's transiting, some that don't. And so all the planets are moving through the gates at different speeds and rates. And so it is such a huge, like, dynamic thing that's happening all the time because different planets have different themes. Different gates have different themes. The way they layer together, you can see why each person's chart is going to be completely unique to them because it's just like there's so many variables.
So much going on.
But since the sun is the like in your chart, in anybody's chart, is the largest part of your energy expression because it is our biggest it's our star, it's our guide. Yeah, it's what we're shining out in the world. And so it's going to be an energy that's pretty present and people are probably going to feel some aspect of it. So
there's probably a reason that it's listed first on the chart.
Yeah. Well, there's your sun sign. Everybody's got their sun sign. So anyways, so each month it's going to go anywhere between like 4, 5, 6 gates, depending on how long or short the month is. And we have 5 gates this month. And we have an exciting transition here this month. So we are, as we're recording this, it's a couple weeks before this happens. Let's see, we're still in gate.
Have you said specifically that this is for May? I don't know.
Did I? This is
I
for
don't know.
May. These are for the gates transiting in May 2024. I mean, it says it in the title, so I don't know if I said it. I also never say our names, but they
I
just
don't
know
always know the title of the episode of a podcast I'm listening to.
Oh, you definitely don't. Oh, true. Yes. So we're getting ready to do another transit here tomorrow. We're moving into another gate as we record. But when this episode goes live, we're going to be finishing up April. It's going to be still at the end of gate 27, which is gate of blessing. No, 24. Sorry, gate 24, rationalization. And as we move on May 3rd, which could be like late in the day or sometime during the day on the 2nd, but actually May 3rd is where we're going to call it. That's what the ephemera says. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. We are not only moving into a new gate, we are moving into a new quarter.
Ooh. Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can. Are we moving into the third quarter?
Second.
Are we there already? Second quarter. Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first is initiation, which is all about the mind.
This one is Is this duality?
No.
I'm trying to be in the third quarter already.
I know, you're excited. Get there.
I don't remember what two is.
This one is, well, the name doesn't, I feel like the quarter name doesn't really match up, but it's the quarter of civilization. And so this is where we start bringing things out into form.
Building things.
Building, that's right. Theme of building anything, like actual physical things, building relationships, building businesses, building cities, building communities, whatever you want to build. It's all about
yourself.
Yes. It's about taking all the mental energy and starting to bring it into form out into the world. So this is which it also coincides with, we've just switched over to, at the end of April, the sun moves into Taurus as well, which is a very much a earthy material world type of sign. So we're building things now. So this is fun because we've gone through several months now, and you could see how the energy's kind of progressing and moving. But I feel like this month in May, it just really is clear to me what's happening during this month at this beginning phase of bringing things into form. I mean, it feels like it. So we'll just get into it. So like I said, on the 3rd of May, we will be in gate 2. Jesus. Getting my words right. On May 3rd, we move into gate 2. There we go. All right. I think I got it. So gate 2 is known as the receptive. And in the I Ching, and it is also known as the gate of direction of the self in traditional human design. And in quantum, it's known as allowing. And
is this is it in the G center?
It is in the G center.
Oh.
It is. It's reaching down or connecting with gate 14. They connect through the channel of the beat. This is yeah. This is exciting energy here. So it's exciting, but at the same time, this gate or this hexagram, the receptive, is the most yin energy in the hexagram and in the chart. I mean, in the I Ching and in the chart. So we don't talk about it a whole lot. We use the word hexagram, and we've talked a little bit about upper and lower trigram, and there's these lines.
Right.
But really it's so the upper and lower trigram, so there's 3 lines together. So they have different configurations of either broken or unbroken lines. So a straight line or a line that has a piece missing in the middle. That's it. So this structure here, this hexagram, is from top to bottom, from 1 to 6, is all broken lines. So it's very symbolic. If you think about, this is the receptive, it's representing the feminine. It is like the womb space. It is allowing that space for things to come in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Things. So the themes here are of receiving and creating space for what you want to come into reality. It's the highest expression of feminine power. And what's interesting is we always think of the masculine as being the power and the creation force, which it kind of is, but there is no, in the hexagon or in the I Ching, it says this is really the space of creation. There's creative expression, but this is where things can come about. It's about receiving and allowing the process to happen. Because if you relate it to like that womb space, there is a seed that is planted, but then the natural feminine is, it just allows it to grow, right? It's like when you're pregnant, you're not actively thinking, today I'm going to make an arm. I'm going to make sure I get 14 billion cells done today. No. You're just there trusting that, allowing the natural process, the natural flow. What's a mother supposed to do? She's supposed to take care of herself, make sure she's well rested, make sure she's eating well, like all these things that help foster the life within her until the time is right, which nobody knows when that is. We can predict a date, but nobody knows when the right time, or when the actual time the baby's going to be born, when the fruit's going to come about, all those things. And so that really helps me understand large part of this theme here is that whole, you just need to trust in the process and nurture it. Really, if you have a dream or something you want to bring into fruition, it's not about forcing, it's about allowing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's quite the gate to start out the quarter. Makes
right.
sense.
But yeah, so it's like thinking, okay, we want to get into action. We're going to bring something forth, but we've got to lay the foundation really of trusting in the timing and trusting that there's a lot of trust in this gate, of trusting that you're supported. That's a big one. I know we've talked about the different gates and how in the G Center in particular being this like compass almost of how to bring things about in life and how to calibrate your monopole, because that's where the monopole is. It only attracts to you what is right for you and where you're going in life. And this was the one that says, I allow, I am supported, meaning that, and this is something we often struggle with, is wanting to force things instead of trusting that when the time is right and it's right for you, it will show up, right? Because the monopole only attracts what's correct for you and what you're aligned to. And so the connection there between that 14 and that 2 is that the 14 is it's the engine that helps direct the self. They say it's the direction of the self, gate 2. And so you often hear in human design language or text about gate 2 being the key that gets it going, gets the driver going. So if you think that the 14 responds, it works in response, right? And it directs its energy, or there's this back and forth energy between the 14 and the 2, where it gives the 2 gives the energy of the 14 a place to go. That's the direction. It's of what the self wants. It's what you want, what you desire, what you want to bring in, the dream you have, whatever it is that's correct for you, and gives it that energy and that fuel to the monopole, to the driver, to then go out in the world and start bringing those things to you. But, like we said, if we go back to the thought of the baby in the womb, it's like, if your chances of that having a healthy pregnancy and things working out as best as they can, it takes a certain amount of like self-care and rest and taking that in consideration. What's also interesting is that this gate has an influence on the environment around it as well. If you're somebody with this gate, you can have the ability to be able to help direct others to what is a correct path for them, because they say that when you have this gate, which, a lot of these terms are not terms, a lot of these ideas are seen in the, let's see, I don't want to say seen in the positive, but it's like, this is the potential of this gate, right?
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of times when people have these energies defined, they don't always like feel it, like
Right.
that they know it, because it says you have this innate sense of the direction you're going and what you need and what's right for you, right? And you're good at helping point that out in others, which I
Mhm.
think it's easier to point it out in others than it's yourself, for
Well, I
sure.
can see that because, like, if you have that, you just kind of feel like that's normal for you. If you have that definition, you just feel like it's normal
Mhm.
that everyone is able to just know where they need to go. So then
Mhm.
you don't think that it's special or you don't notice that it's there necessarily because it does just feel so normal and so like usual.
Yeah. And if you are a sacral, you could have this defined and not have the full channel. And obviously, you could still be a generator type, which means that that sacral center is going to help guide you in that direction by its response, letting you know what's
Mhm.
correct for you or not. And that's going to be a big component in this gate, and it expressing, if you have it defined, is your strategy and authority, because we all know that that's what helps you align with what's correct for you, whether you're sacral or not, of what your direction is going to be. And then it also shows us that it's not just hard work. It's not all about pushing and effort and all this other stuff. There has to be an element of relaxing, releasing, trusting that what you want is going to happen. And even when it doesn't feel like it, that you are supported. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons in this gate, is learning to trust that you are supported in your endeavors, because that's the hardest one.
Mhm.
Especially if you do have all that energy and you're like, no, I just want to go, 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 go and
Mhm.
get it done. And if I just work a little bit harder, I can make this happen. But, you know, you can't make a baby. Well, I mean, you can make a baby born, but it wouldn't be good. But I was just saying, you can't rush the process. Or let's think about the acorn, a seed of a flower or a tree. It knows what to do. You
Mhm.
just have to nurture it. It just has to be done at its own pace, and it will. It will. Your fruits of your labor will come to pass. So, as we're thinking about this, what are we doing in our lives at this point? Or what if we have something we're wanting to bring out into the world? Are we allowing it to come in, or are we trying to push it too much? Are we
Mhm.
not allowing ourselves to feel supported, and trusting that we are supported is a big one. And believing you are supported, which is
Mhm.
really not as easy as it sounds to tap into, because,
No.
well, Abraham Hicks would always say that what you're seeing right now is old news. This is what you're experiencing now, is what you put into form. You put the ball into motion by what you
Mm.
were thinking and believing previously. If you want to know where you're at, you kind of like, okay, so my reality right now, this is what I see in front of me. And this is where most people stop, is what they see in front of them, right?
Okay. Mhm.
And they identify with what's happening. It's like, no, how can I trust that what I want is happening when what I see is this? But everything starts not right in front of you. It starts with a thought, a feeling, all those things we talk about all the time in the creation process of having the thought, having the attention. And they say in the Abraham Hicks law of attraction, it's like, first you just have to know what you want. You put it out into the vortex, they call it. This is what I want. And then, so it's like ask and it is given. You just have to ask, put it into motion, and then allow yourself to receive it. And that means staying in a vibrational state or staying in alignment that will kind of line you up with it, which is what the monopole is all about. And that means you don't have to think about it all the time. You don't have to force it. You don't have to say, where is it coming? It's not coming. You just have to kind of give yourself a break, take care of yourself, do things that make you feel better, and then it will come to you.
Yeah, you have to give it the space to grow and to become.
Yeah. So that just takes trust and faith, and
It's hard.
I know.
It's so hard.
All boils down to do the whole chart. Do what you want. Feels good. Have faith and trust that it'll show up, and then just wait for the right time.
You're like, that sounds so simple.
Oh, simple and so freaking difficult. I get it. So, and really also during this time, thinking about your connection to source. Do you feel connected? Do you feel aligned? Do you feel supported? All those things. So that's gate 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the 9th of May, we're going to start a little tour around the throat center because we're going to move up to gate 23. So
I have a question.
Sure. I was going to say sure, madam, but I don't know what happened.
Is this Ian's sun gate?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it should be. It's on May 9th.
I just
His
wanted to
birthday's
make
May
sure
12th.
that my math was mathing.
The math is mathing. You are correct. It is.
Okay.
This is your brother's sun gate, sorry. Yes, so gate 23 is in the throat center, and it is in that same circuitry as the gate 2. Gate 2 is at the bottom of the G center.
Okay.
Directly opposite gate 2 at the top is gate 1, and then it flows through gate 8, and then at the top of the throat center is gate 23.
Is this individual circuitry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Very much so. So it's, like I said, it's in the throat center. It's part of the channel of structuring with the 4323, connecting the throat center to the ajna, which we talk about a lot. And that is, of course, the structuring is the genius to freak channel, and it's taking knowingness and putting it to language. And so really, as you can imagine, I didn't say what the names are. So in the I Ching, it's called splitting apart.
Okay.
Traditional calls it assimilation, and quantum calls it transmission. And so it is
very different things.
Yes, but not really. They all are kind of touching on the same concept here, because this is, like I said, it's about languaging. It's about speaking or being able to transmit ideas, transmission, it's bringing that knowingness into language. However, in a simplified way, it's about simplifying. So it's making the complicated or complex simple and understandable, because the ideas that are coming through the 43, these are very new, innovative, unique. It's that individual knowingness where it just kind of drops in. It starts up there in gate 61 with mystery, and then moves down to the 24, the blessings, the 43, the like of being able to make that into a concept, and then 23 being able to like share it, because what good are ideas and knowingness without being shared? And so this is things that are shared that are meant to change the way people think. These are transformative ideas. So it also supports seeing things from all different angles and being open to other ideas, and does not tolerate closed-mindedness. It does not like that. It's not going to be for that, because obviously look at it. It's like you can't have a closed, narrow view of the world and
be open to new ideas.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. So because it's in a throat center, though, it is reliant on timing, the correct timing, and being recognized, right? And what that means is that you could have all the greatest ideas in the world and solutions and everything, but if you're not sharing them with the right people at the right time, they may not be either received well or even heard. They just might not even understand what the hell you're talking about. Yes, I have this gate as well, but I do have the full channel. So does your brother. Your brother has the full channel too. And like I said, it's a theme in our family. Apparently, there's lots of people in our family
It's very odd.
Yeah, Lakeland has it. Hunter has it. My mom had it. You have.
You guys all have the full
you have the
channel?
43. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the full channel. Oh. Yeah. So the splitting apart thing, what that refers to is the structure of the hexagram, the way the lines are, and I don't know the names of them, but basically what it means is that it shows that things kind of need to be broken apart and then brought back together. You have to gain meaning from something. You have to get rid of the unnecessary in order to get to the necessary, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talked about Michelangelo before, remember we talked about the sculptor starts with a block of something and then just removes. He said he would just remove what wasn't the sculpture, and then it appears, makes it so that others could see it and understand it. He just chipping away at it. And so it's kind of the same way of having the ability to distill it down to what could be understood simply. And I watched this great video about how to explain complicated ideas to people, and I probably need to watch it a few times because I still struggle with it at times. It is for me, it is an unconscious placement in my chart. Gate 23, 43 is conscious, 23 is unconscious. So I'm not always aware. Like you tell me all the time, they're like, no, that made sense. That's why I'm asking you all the time, because I'm not really sure what I'm saying is making sense. And so I do appreciate feedback when you tell me it makes sense. So, but yeah, this guy was a scientist, and he's like, I could tell people he knows what he does. It's very complicated. And he explained it in his complicated scientific terms. But then basically what he does and how he tells people what he does, he's like, every year, millions of people take drugs that are harmful to them because there's confusion around the names of the drugs. They're taking the wrong thing because of how it's named. So his job is to help identify where that confusion is and make sure that people aren't going to be harmed by the drugs that they take. So I only heard that once, so he probably did a much better job. Still trying to uncomplicate it. But
I mean, like, I think about times that I'll ask Ian, like, do you know what this is, or do you know how this works? And he can explain it. And I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
I swear, I always marvel. I mean, his cross, he's a 3-5. He's the right angle cross of explanation. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
So that's what this cross is. It's the 23, 43, and I believe, is it 49-4? Because he and Lakeland have the same gates, just in different configurations. Hers is the 49 is her sun gate, I believe. She's born in February. Yeah, I think we had that already. So yeah, hers is 49, her lead gate. So yes, the right angle cross of, his is right angle cross of explanation too. And this truly is his gift, because this boy, man, sorry, he'll always be a boy in my hand, he knows so much about so many things. And he does distill it down to just like, well, I don't know how many times he'll say, well, basically, and then he explains it to me. And I'm like, how do you know that? We're talking like complex scientific things down to like cooking, or why this happens, or this reaction or thing. I don't know how he knows so many things.
I don't know.
But he does. But he is very good at explaining it. And so with this gate, like I said, this is not logic, and it is knowingness. So it is going to function best when you're just kind of tuned into your own knowingness, your own thoughts, and not listening so much to other people's opinions, because it can get in the way of what you have to deliver.
Right.
So it says, if no one's asking you, find people who will listen. If no one's asking for what you have to say. So I think this is one of these things that also falls into projector territory. This is a projected gate of like, well, what if nobody's asking me? How am I ever going to share my ideas? Do I never get to blah, blah, blah? And I always say, no, that's not true. Of course you can share your ideas. And finding the right people, I think that gets people stumped too. Like, how do I find people, especially in this day and age? But what I say is like, if you, and I tell this to projectors a lot too, is like, you're in control of your own environment, what you do, how you share. You can share your ideas through speaking, writing, videos, whatever you want to do. And in that format, when the right time or when the time is right for the people to hear it, they'll find it. So like this podcast in general, I really wanted to talk about this stuff. I really wanted to share this stuff, but a lot of people in my immediate surroundings, because everybody's circles got really small over the last several years, like who you see all the time, they didn't really care. To this day still, I was sharing something with Ian last night across the dinner table about something I did, some feedback I got on some of this intuitive work I've been doing, and he just, the dead stare he gives me all the time, he's just like, he has zero interest in human design, in hearing anything about intuitive work or any of this woo stuff.
I don't know why
finds
he's
it all
so against it. I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, he's just he sees himself very, very logical, factual kind of person. And I mean, he told me when he was in high school, he was an atheist. I'm like, okay, whatever. He doesn't see the logic in that, in God. So it's like, okay, whatever. Whatever. He's an amazing person. He's one of the biggest hearted, sweet, caring people I know, but that's all right. I'm not here to form his beliefs. When he's ready, he'll hear my transmission.
Hey, you still know about his design, so you work on it. You just don't tell him.
I do it all the time. So, but anyways, yeah, so I wanted to be able to talk and share about this. And so I just decided we were going to do this. You were on board, and when it's the right time for people to find it, they'll find it. The ones that do tune into it and they want to hear it and my voice resonates with them, they'll hear it. That's why they always encourage you to, like, if there's something you want to share, even if you think everybody's doing it and it's been done before, it doesn't matter because you haven't done it. And having this gate defined in your throat that is your vibration. It's going to hit differently. It's going to hit the right people. So just have to trust in that. But following your strategy and authority, making sure you're using the correct timing. So in the shadow here, obviously you could be complicating things. You could be someone who they say makes a mountain out of a molehill kind of thing. You're adding too much complexity to everything. And you also might feel that you're somebody who makes you believe that you need to be right. You're not being so open-minded. No, your brother has a little bit of that too. He can be a little like...
Well, he is also a Taurus. He's a little stubborn.
He is very much a Taurus. Very stubborn. Very smart. So, and not feeling open to new ideas, but then also feeling pressured to speak. This is a big thing in the throat center is, especially if you have the throat undefined, but you have the gate defined, there's going to be that pressure to speak. There's going to be this more of an urge to feel like you need to get attention. You need to get people to listen to you. And so if it's undefined, you might definitely have to look at that and be like, am I trying to force it too much? Am I trying to speak? What happens when I don't wait to be called on? You know what I mean? Recognize that usually it falls on deaf ears or deaf.
Falls on the deaf ears.
Deaf ears. Right. So as this gate's transiting, look around. where you overcomplicating things in life, maybe it's a good time to also clear out some clutter. Where is it that you could kind of create some space, create an opening? Are you sharing your ideas simply? Are they receptive? What happens when you try to what we just talked about, which is just randomly blurt out your great ideas, and everybody's like,
I'm like, what the hell? Yeah.
Exactly. We all have that experience. I mean, like I said, even though I have it defined, like I think the first, I don't even know, couple decades of my life, I was really trying too hard to be heard sometimes, which, especially if you have undefined throat, you could completely shut down, not mine's defined, or you could just be me. It was like just filling up space a lot of times with talking instead of just sitting back, being quiet, and allowing your energy to do the work of drawing people to you. You know what I mean? You should know.
I do. I feel that as a projector.
Yeah, for sure. With an undefined throat.
When I think about it, just growing up being the projector in the generator family, like we had a saying that I would Haley it, which I would basically like repeat whatever just happened. And I think that was me trying to be heard.
Well, I heard somebody say once that when there's a defined throat and an undefined throat, the defined throat, like I think what I do a lot is I don't necessarily know when to stop talking. You know, I just keep going. Where if you're undefined, what are you doing? You're like amplifying, you're receiving, amplifying, reflecting it back. And they say people with undefined throats can it can land with whoever they're talking to because they're kind of in touch with that energy. And so an undefined throat may be able to understand a little bit better when their message lands and they know when to stop talking. And I just was observing that now between us. I realized sometimes I just keep explaining things and I'm like, I need to just stop explaining things like it's done. You're like, yeah, I think you made your point. And I'm like, but have I? Have I said everything that needs to be said? I apologize. I'm sorry. Because I do sometimes edit out. I'm like, I think I was beating a dead horse on that one. Poor horse. Okay, let's move on. Now that I recognize it. So on the 15th of May, we move into gate 8, another throat center or gate. And so this is in the I Ching known as holding together.
Okay.
Sorry. In traditional, it's known as the gate of contribution. And in quantum, it's fulfillment. Ooh. And so this forms a channel with the gate 1 from the G center to the throat. It's the channel of inspiration. And so that's like the creative expression, the creative individual. That's the design of a creative.
Have all 3 of these gates that we've talked about now been in the exact same line here? Okay.
You catching on? That's right.
Very individual.
Started with the direction of the self. Exactly. Individual, the self. I mean, gate of the direction of the self. Right. Taking those knowingness, the intuition, all that ideas, bringing them down into language. So this then is the expression of the self. So it's the gate of, or it's the voice of the self. That gate 1 is the creative. And so this contribution then, the contribution in this gate is your authentic self. Okay, this is all about authentic self-expression because you think about, well, it's connected to the gate 1, which is the I am gate. Like, that's me. I am this, right? And so the gate 8 gives voice to that. And so if you have this gate defined, being this full authentic expression of yourself is your purpose in life. You are here to show up and be authentically you. The Gene Keys, he calls it the gate of the gift here is style, and the shadow is mediocrity. No, I laugh. I chuckle because I have this gate and I don't have the full channel. I have this gate, and I'll never forget when I first heard the Gene Keys talk about that gate, gate 14, the shadow themes of compromise and mediocrity. I'm like, oh,
Like, oh
Oh, I
God.
feel so called out. So this is like really this gate 8 is kind of like seen as that let your freak flag fly. What is it that is unique about you? You probably, if you have it, define someone who feels a little weird and doesn't fit in, but you're not supposed to fit in. It's about understanding that all of us has our own unique expression. And when you, as someone with this energy, is able to be true to that and express that, that automatically empowers other people around you. That's a lot of what the theme is in that whole channel. And in individuality is being the example. I mean, the individual circuitry is all about what feels right for the individual and being tuned into that more than anything else, because that then affects the tribe and the collective, right? The collective energy. And so what's different though with this gate, if you don't have the corresponding connecting gate, gate 1, this a lot of times, so like the gate 1 is more associated with like the artist, the person who creates, the person who has the ability to create kind of thing. And the other end of it, the 8, the being the voice to that, is bringing it out into the world. So if you had the full channel, you're probably somebody who is able to like promote your own self, promote your work, promote what it is that you do and love it and blah, 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 because you can speak about it. But if you don't, you can see where it can create a disconnect. So say you have the 1 and you don't have the 8, you might be more like, you don't know how to speak about what it is you do or share it, or you don't feel comfortable or whatever. Whereas the gate 8 acts as like that agent for the creative. It is what a lot of times is referred to as the gallery owner instead of the artist, but someone who promotes others' work or ideas or whatever it is going out into the world, and feel that that is the contribution they make. I can contribute or not. I can add my expression to it or not. I can help lift this up or not. That's just what they talk about, contribution. So, but at the heart of it is, because that's how they describe it in traditional human design, which I don't think is entirely helpful, because if you just think about, well, what if it's not art? Like, what do you know? Like, oh, I'm the gallery owner or I'm an agent. But just, it's hard for me to like, I can kind of understand what they mean, but at the same time, it puts it kind of in a narrow box.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So I like the idea more of thinking about being this voice of individuality, being this voice of what makes you unique, and standing in that, and like starting to be comfortable with understanding your uniqueness and what it is you have to say, or what it is you're here to do or bring forth, and just like being yourself and being there. So, it takes courage, because we talk all the time about conditioning. We're not necessarily encouraged to be yourself and be different. Now, I will say that I feel like I had some positive influence in my children's lives by having this gate, because I never told you guys that you had to go with the flow.
Nope.
I don't think I did.
You never like pushed us into anything that you like thought we should be doing, or like you never pushed us to do anything that we didn't want to do.
Yeah. I mean, within reason. I mean, don't make me sound like a pushover, but I know that's not what you meant.
No.
But just like, because mediocrity here, this side of it, is like wanting to fit in above all else. This is when you're in the shadow, is where you are like living a mediocre life, because you want to be like everybody else. You want to fit in. You don't want to make waves. And I always said that I felt like I knew I had this inner, like this channel, the 4323, the 8 and all this, like I know that there's an underlying sense there of I'm different. Maybe everybody feels that way. They probably do. But I never really wanted to fit in. I'd always say like, I could happily observe, but I am never fully going to say I'm part of a group. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And this is just my expression of it. Like, no matter what I got involved in, there's always something within that group or something that I'm like, no, don't put that label on me. Like, that's not me. I still have to be me.
Mhm.
Right.
I think it was pretty evident of who you were in high school at your
No.
Catholic high school.
Yeah.
You had a
Well,
faux hawk and you said knife and then
yeah. It was the 80s. That was mid 80s. Yeah. I was a little bit different. Still am. Or just like any groups, like when you guys were growing up, there's the mom groups and the church groups and what we always referred to as the kids at in the churches, like went to a kind of hoity-toity Presbyterian church, and there was the hair bow, like everybody had to have their kids being perfect and dressed matching, and everybody put so much in like what their kids look like. They wanted their kids, not just in church and school, this other stuff, what they wanted their kids to look like, what they thought was perfect so they'd fit in. Whereas, I look back now at some of your school photos, like, is that her going to school? Poor little girl. She looked like a little ragamuffin. But you were happy.
I remember that you let me wear my pink like cardigan sweater that had snowmen on it. I
Yeah.
loved that thing.
Yeah, you did.
Mhm.
Yeah, you weren't too crazy. I mean, you were you. You had your own
Yeah.
sense of stuff. But I was never like, I didn't feel that pressure to fit into how other people were parenting their kids and how they were looking.
That
And
definitely rubbed off on me because, like, I mean, looking back at who I was in high school, like, I didn't feel pressured to go, like I never snuck out because I wanted to be in that crowd, or like I never really went to parties because I was like, no, that's not who I am.
mhm.
So I
Or
think it
even
rubbed off
just,
on me.
oh, sure. And even just like physically, like the time when all the girls are like, I have to look a certain way and dress a certain way and be no, that you're not attractive, you're not pretty, but like the overuse in young women, unfortunately, of like makeup and being
Fucking hate
provocative.
makeup.
And I know you do, obviously. You don't like to wear it.
The only time I've worn makeup in the past 10 years was to my own wedding. And even that wasn't a ton.
It's so true. So anyways, I'll try not to talk too much about myself in this gate, but basically, if you do have this gate, celebrate your weirdness, and your weirdness is what makes you interesting. And weirdness, you know what I mean? It's like you're not going to fit the mold. Don't try. Don't try. You're meant to be different.
Why would you want to be anyone else when you can be you?
And let me point out, it doesn't mean that if you don't have this gate defined that you can't be yourself. This is definitely an energy that is something that you may have to tap in a little bit more to, like making an effort to like say, okay, well, what is it that really defines me? Or what is it I really want to express? So what is it I'm hiding from? Because there is a tendency in the shadow for this, like we said, of that trying to blend in and be normal. Like, ask yourself, the choices you're making in life, the groups you're in, the way you move through life, is it really coming from what you want and how you feel? Or are you like just trying to blend in? So this is about, again, giving the voice to the individual, the individuality of you. So just look at that. So anything else? Okay. On May 21st, we're moving
Okay.
into gate 20, the gate of contemplation in the I Ching, also known as the gate of the now in human design, and the gate of patience in quantum human design. So this is another throat gate, and this is one that is actually part of that integration network, right? So it's one of those gates that connects to 3 other gates. So it connects to gate 10 in the G center, connects to gate 57 in the spleen, and also to gate 34 in the sacral. So this theme here, as I'm sure you might have gathered from the names of the now and contemplation, is very much about being in the now.
Wow.
It's about being present and why that's important. And so it's being present and in the now supports the capacity to survive as yourself, because this integration network are these channels that are kind of the basis of the individual in the world kind of thing of like, so with gate 57, it's like being able to, I think I'm getting ahead. Hold on one second. So, no, I think I'll go there. So, like with gate 57, it's that intuitive awareness. Gate 57 is the gate of intuition, and being able to kind of act on that intuition or speak on that, what you know, type of thing. Gate 10, that connection there, that is the voice of the self, like what you're feeling like in the moment, or your identity. And that has the fun little side note. Gate 1020, not gate, channel 1020 can be referred to as the gunslinger, because it's speaking straight from the heart of who you are. And if you're hurt, or it can make you feeling
You might
defensive,
fire off from the hip.
yeah, you might
Yeah.
regret it, but it's very sensitive. If you have a 1020, you can be very sensitive to criticism and how other people are coming at you. Might respond in a less than pleasant way, but you don't mean it. You're just defensive and hurt. And then gate 34, obviously, is 3420 is the like quintessential manifesting generator channel. It's what makes a manifesting generator, of having that pure sacral power to the throat. It's the only direct connection from the sacral to the throat. Most of the other ones have to go through other ways.
Channels.
Yeah.
Centers. That's the word.
It is like having the power to act in your own behalf, to get into action quickly. They say a lot of times that's called the channel, the charisma, that one. These people have certain charismas because they are just like, they're acting in the moment for what's appropriate for them, type of thing. It's fast manifestation. So really, if you think about what being present is, it's being in the moment, because this is the only moment there is, right? I mean, the first time you ever think about it, the first time I thought about it, it was like the past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. These are all just projections of the mind, because
you can't go into the past, you can't go into the future. You're literally right here, right now. That's all you have.
Always right here, right now. It's the hardest place to be.
It's so hard.
That's right. It's being totally absorbed in the moment, and because that's all there is. Because people say, well, the past is true. Well, the past isn't true. You can change the past by how you are in the now. You can change how you think.
It's all just our memories.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said, Well, even that design side of the body graph, we kind of touched on. We were talking about epigenetics and like your genes, and they say that side of the chart is where there can be some ancestral memories and traumas and everything. And part of the reason you're here, you're in that vehicle, which is the design side of your body graph. Your spirit, your soul incarnated into that vehicle using that framework, that vehicle, a lot of times to help heal some of those energies that are there, those unconscious energies, those ancestral memories, those traumas. You in this lifetime can be the person that could heal that trauma, which does not get carried forward into the future. And it also helps change the past, because you now see the past differently. You have a different experience. I mean, that's some deep work. Like that's, something. And I learned Course in Miracles and all this other stuff, is being able to see that everything in the past right now, the reality of the past is our perception of the past. It's not necessarily what really happened. It's only what you think happened. And because you're coming from your own perspective. And if you can shift what that meant to you, what that means to you now, what happened, it changes everything. And so this theme in this gate is being in the now, being present. This is how you survive. by being present. It makes you aware of correct timing. If you're always in the past or in the future, you're missing the opportunities and you're not cognizant of the right timing because you're not present.
Mhm.
It's like an infinite loop. Your life is happening now.
Just kind of a side note. What is my throat gates? I think I have maybe
Throat?
two. Yeah. Because I
You
know
only
my
have
spleen's
one.
fine and my very much in the now mentality may be more from my spleen, but I was just curious.
Well, that's instinct. The spleen and the way the spleen speaks. Yes, it is in the now in the sense that it doesn't usually repeat. It just gives you what you need at the moment, like what's best for you, what's healthy for you. And it's not necessarily a thought. It's a lot of times it's just a feeling. It's an instinct, right? You have in the throat defined gate 45. That's all you have. You don't have any other gates.
Okay.
Just your queenly energy.
Mm.
The voice of the tribe. So this gate is teaching us about contemplation, taking our time, being present. Most importantly, it's about being present and reflecting, contemplating before acting. Because even though the manifesting generator has that sacral to the throat, where it's connected is interested because it means
I was just thinking that too.
There's a lot of power there. It can go, but only in response. First, it has to respond to something outside itself, right? In order to know if it's something they're going to act upon. And this gate says you have to kind of know where to be present and to not be distracted so that you are able to make the correct action, say the right thing. All those things is like, make sure you're not acting from the past or projecting into the future kind of thing. So if you are in the shadow energy of this gate, you're probably just like busy with no purpose. You're just being busy for the sake of being busy, distracted, just moving through life, being more affected by the external distractions in life, not having your own sense of inner peace, like not being able to tap into it or even know how to get there, like what it is, feeling disconnected, not having a connection to yourself or something more, and always looking outside yourself for answers or for validation or for a reason for doing things. So you can imagine that energy just being like, all the energy there of not being focused or present could be very
Distracting.
very distracting, but also I just feel like kind of a void almost, like it's very shallow in the sense that you have all this potential, but you're not using it correctly. So you're just kind of scattering your immense energy you have everywhere. If you had that like 3420 for sure. So asking yourself at this time or contemplating or any time, but the energy there is to support you with, are you taking the time to go within, to be present? Are you filling your day with like just busyness and distractions? Are you scrolling all the time? How do you find presence? And it can be challenging for sure, but really going outside always helps. I was walking the other day and I realized that, I'm walking the dog and you have to be aware of your surroundings, and my spleen takes care of that a lot of times. It keeps me safe. I'm always got my alerts on. But I decided to try and bring myself more fully into the moment and not letting my mind wander so much. And as I was walking, I just started trying to pick out all the different sounds I was hearing, all the different layers of sounds. Like I could hear engine sounds. I could hear the dog walking. I could hear myself walking, breathing. I could hear leaves blowing. I could hear a bird here, a bird there. Like it kind of like trying to bring your focus into where you are in the moment. There's lots of techniques out of there to how to bring yourself more into the present moment. So if you haven't yet, maybe start thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to our last gate. On the 27th of May, we are moving into gate 16. Again, it's in the throat. The gate of
A lot of throat.
enthusiasm. Well, let's think, but what is the throat center?
That brings forth ideas and brings it out into the
Manifestation.
world. Yeah.
That's right. This is where we
You know
bring
what?
things out into the world.
This whole thing makes a lot of sense.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I mean, it starts, yeah. So enthusiasm in the I Ching, traditional calls it skills, and quantum calls it zest. And so this is the throat gate that connects down to the spleen through gate 48 in the channel of the wavelength.
Ooh.
And so this gate is in this channel as well, but this gate is all about talent and skill and mastery. It's the way to express your expertise, let's say. And so it's having a talent that's not just like luck, it's something that you work at. It's a skill that you've practiced, refined, repeated until mastery. So if you think about the professional athlete, the dancer, the craftsman, we've talked about this circuitry a lot, from the root up to the spleen, up to the throat, of this is that energy of what is it that you want to bring out into the world, and what is the skill that you want to perfect, to master, to be really good at it. And I know that, but it's like, what does that mean though? Like, why? Why? Right?
Yeah. My favorite question.
Yeah. Why? Engaging in these skills, inquiring new skills, because basically it says that it gives you the ability to have like a set of skills that allows you to engage in life when it's needed and when it's called on. You have something that you don't necessarily have to think about in order to implement. It makes you more adaptable. If you have a certain skill set, say like even something as simple as reading, you don't have to learn how to read all over again if you're proficient of it, or even walking, like all these things that we had to practice and practice and practice until
Yeah.
it becomes automatic to us. And that adds on to your skill set of things that makes you able to move in the world and be adaptable and bring your creations out into the world, bring your ideas. But because it is connected to the spleen center, it is about that survival of things, of making you, and they also refer to this gate as like a Jack and Jill of all trades. There is, like I said, that enthusiasm and that like wanting to try new things and do new things and learn new things and get good at it, so that you can have another tool in your tool belt to move you forward. You enjoy engaging in new skills. And with enthusiasm, it talks about, and they don't have to be all in the same vein. There might be all these different types of skills that collectively build onto your whole person's expression, I guess, in a way to say it. So the shadow side of this gate then is kind of, again, not going very deep on any one thing. There's different ways it can play out, of just picking things up and not sticking with it long enough to really master it. You're kind of just scattering, again, your energy all over the place, in this sense that you feel like you don't have enough depth or enough tools, let's say. And so you're bouncing around and be like, well, maybe it's this thing, maybe it's that thing, maybe it's this thing, maybe it's that thing. This is what I need. Especially, like I said, if you don't have that gate 48 helps anchor it into something that you are really,
It's like
the thing it is that, because 48, if it doesn't have 16, feels like it doesn't know enough and can't do it. Whereas the other end of it, if it doesn't have the 48, it never gets deep enough into anything. That's the shadow side of it, is not getting deep enough. Also, there is a tendency on the flip side of that, of maybe over identifying with just one skill that you have. So somebody says you're really good at, I don't know, what's accounting. You're good with numbers. And so you just kind of don't allow yourself to explore new things or try new things, because you're kind of afraid to. You've been told you're good at one thing and you're afraid that you may not be good at something else. There's a lot of self-doubt in there. And so you might not explore enough and gather enough skills and expand your range, kind of thing. So So at this time when it shows up, thinking about for the collective, for all of us out there, what in your life, what are you excited about? What do you want to learn or explore or be good at? If you feel like maybe you've been kind of limiting yourself, I think we all have some unexplored talent or something, like thinking about you did when you were a kid, picking something up that you might want to learn a new skill. And even sometimes it's like, but what's the point? You might be like, why do I need to learn, or why it's not valuable to learn like crocheting or something like that, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
valuable. Well, who's to say? Who knows what skills you learn? I've gathered skills all along the way that I'm like, I don't know why I have them. And then one day in my design, my nature of connecting people and opportunities and stuff, there's things that I've acquired, skills that I have mastered that comes into play somewhere and makes it easy. So just kind of tuning into, are you really living life with a measure of enthusiasm? Are you excited about anything? If not, why? What could you
Mm-hmm.
do to help bring that level of enthusiasm up? And also look at the skill set you have. Is there something that you need to go deeper on? Something that maybe you have thought about is something you'd like to have a little bit more mastery over? What's stopping you? Why did you stop? What's getting in the way? Just kind of evaluating those things. And so I think it's really interesting as you look back at a whole on this month, how like, and there's just so much going on in the cosmos right now that I can't even really, it's very complex. I can't give language to it. But yesterday there was a lot of uh, things coming into my inbox or in my Instagram feed or whatever about this huge event of Uranus and Jupiter becoming lined up in the sky conjunct, and
Mm-hmm.
how it is really, because it's in Taurus and it's just all these things. I don't have the skill of astrology necessarily to understand. I can read other people who are great at it and understand it. And I apologize because I'm just going right off the top of my head here. I didn't plan on necessarily talking about this, but there's so much energy that we know is moving in general in this next global cycle about the individual and honoring the individual. And this Jupiter Uranus conjunction is really highlighting what makes you unique. What is your unique expression? Are you moving in that direction? Are you doing it? And then you see this next month of energy alone
Mm-hmm.
is all about refining that. Honestly, it's about tuning into that direction, trusting it, what's right for you, simplifying your ideas, expressing them, waiting for the right time, sharing them with enthusiasm, with mastery, with skill. Like, come on. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's big
really
things.
cool. Yeah, I think it's really, really great. A lot of things to learn there in this month. So, anything else you want to add to that before we move on to the
Mm,
final segment of today?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, then you know what that means. It's time for.
The Incarnation Cross of the Week.
That is correct. Yes, the Incarnation Cross the Week. So, okay. So we never explain what we're doing here.
Hmm.
We just kind of always go into it.
Yep.
And so decided some time ago last year that we were going to share an Incarnation Cross every week, a little synopsis of it, because there's 192 different
Mhm.
variations of the Incarnation Cross. And so we just usually just I put a random number generator, and it'll spit out a number between 1 and 192, and we go with it. And so today we ended up with a juxtaposition cross,
Ooh,
and which means what, Haley?
it's a 4-1, and
Yes.
I think that's it. Is it just 4-1?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, 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 cool.
It's a 4-1. There's all the right angle crosses are all those profiles that start with a 1, 2, 3, and the 4, 6, and then the left angle crosses are all the crosses that profiles that start with 5, line 5 or line 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then there in the middle, sort of in the middle, it's not really in the middle, is the juxtaposition cross as one profile, which is the 4-1. So this week and what's interesting is the juxtaposition cross is really the kind of ultimate expression of whatever the sun gate is that it's expressing, because we know the Incarnation Crosses all start with a certain sun gate. That's what determines your cross is your sun and earth gates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the leading gate is the personality sun. That's how they're determining what your Incarnation Cross is. Because they're going to be combinations or similar of numbers throughout the year, depending on when you're born. But I'm kind of overcomplicating things. So I will stop. Okay. So the juxtaposition cross we have today is of oppression, which doesn't sound delightful.
No.
But
oppression is usually not.
This is one of those words that lays the wrong foundation sometimes. But okay. So this is then the leading gate. The sun, the personality sun, is in gate 47. Rationalizing. The earth gate then would be in gate 22, gate of openness. On the design side, the sun is in gate 12, gate of caution, and the earth is in gate 11, the gate of ideas.
So we have rationalizing, openness.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost it.
Caution and ideas.
Caution and ideas. I got stumped on the second one. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I got lost.
Well, one thing to point out is that the 22 and the 12, those form a channel between the throat and the solar plexus. So if you have this, you're going to be emotionally defined as well. So if you were born under the juxtaposition cross of oppression, you're here to draw on your previous experiences to come up with new and innovative ideas that will ensure a stable future, even if the ideas might seem challenging or impractical at first. Your purpose is to develop and communicate a deep understanding of how a positive mindset can lead to creative insights and inspiration, which can then bring about significant change. You trust that inspiration will flow through you at the right time in order to bring about the change that is needed. You acknowledge the complex connection between ideas and thoughts and help bring together inspiration and intuition to create new and impactful innovations. Your role involves using your intuitive knowledge to help others transform ideas and inspirations into concrete outcomes. Yeah. So I don't
kind of
really
also fitting with the gates for this month.
Yeah.
Bringing thoughts and ideas into form.
Yeah. And so what's interesting, that 1222, because it talks a lot about timing, the 1222, that channel there is giving voice to like emotion and feeling, but it's also, of course, very closely tied to timing because of that emotional wave and trusting that the time will present itself. And of course, ideas, you have lots of ideas, but you don't always know. The ideas might not always be for you. They could be for others. So it's about sharing those like ideas that may be a little hard to see at first because they're in that 47's, that abstract circuitry as well of like, it's not so much for you to make sense of. You're just there to deliver the inspiration at the right time and let others kind of pick up the cross, so to speak. How's that for distilling it? An idea. Okay, so let's wrap that up before I say anything else and overcomplicate things. But again, Haley, it's so nice to see your smiling face and to have these conversations with you, and hope you feel equipped moving into May now with what you're going to express in this world, even if it's just who you are. That's enough. That's enough for all of us. Just be who you are. And for everybody else out there, appreciate you listening. If you want any insight into your chart and you're having a little bit of struggle with finding what certain things mean or how you're expressing it or how you can better express it, you can, of course, always book a reading with me. You always find those links in the show notes. And so until next time. We appreciate you for being here, and bye for now, Haley.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.